Welcome to Look on the Flip Side, a podcast where we get to take a behind-the-scenes look at stand-up comics, actors, writers, improvisers, and musical improvisers. From Flipside Theater in Superior, Colorado, I'm your host, Jenny Remack. Now let's go look on the flip side. Hi everyone, we have a very special guest today. With over 12 years of experience in improv, he has honed his craft with a wide range of teams, covering a variety of forms. While he appreciates all styles, his main passion lies in the world of musical improv, where spontaneity and storytelling collide in song. Beyond the stage, Erik has taught improv classes and workshops for students of all levels, from foundational scene work to advanced musical techniques. He's dedicated to helping performers build confidence, make strong choices, and discover the joy of collaboration. Erik currently performs with the musical team Improv Cabaret, who's amazing. If you haven't seen him, highly suggest. Creating fully improvised Broadway-style productions filled with dynamic characters and show-stopping numbers, all made up on the spot. Please help me give a warm welcome to the stage, Erik Mulder.
Woo!
Hi, Erik.
Hi, Jenny.
So glad you're here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's amazing. Erik's been my teacher now in improv on Wednesday nights. We're going to go into class right after this. Super stoked. We're doing a characters class.
A lot of fun.
So, you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Here we go. So what originally drew you to improv and teach improv, and more specifically even musical improv?
Yeah, so for me, improv, I wasn't one of those people that did a lot of theater in high school and even college, things like that. I was much more business, serious focus. And as I think a lot of people do, once you get out of college, it's hard to meet people and make friends. And so I think I was really looking for activities that I could do with other people just to connect on a regular basis outside of work.
Right. Yeah.
And my mom, of all people, is actually the one who recommended. She's like, "Oh, you should try improv classes."
Oh, that's cool.
Because she had done some improv classes.
Hey,
yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. And so, I took a stab. I did not think I would like it, but I'm like, why not? We'll see. And look where I've ended up, right?
That's amazing. Sometimes mama knows best.
Yeah, absolutely. That good advice comes from others.
I love that. So have you and your mom ever done improv together?
We have. Not a lot. I think it can be a little hard, at least for me, to play with someone that I know that well and you're that close with.
Sure.
Particularly when you're doing characters and, kind of being a foil or a villain.
Mm-hmm.
But we have done a bit of it, just improv for fun on the side.
Oh, that's cool. Like at family dinners?
Yeah, we mess around or we'll play games, things like that.
Yeah, that's so fun. I love that. We've done that as a family too, because my aunt's in improv, my little sister, and so at sometimes at Thanksgiving or family things, we'll do a little acting, and super fun. So I love that your mom got you into it.
Yeah.
And what about the musical part? How did you get?
I think so. Once I'd been doing improv for a while, I took 5 levels at the Bovine. That's a lot of schools do kind of 5 levels. Started doing joined some house teams, things like that, and was watching a lot of improv. And I saw a musical team perform, and I was like, "Oh, this looks fun," because I love music. I've played the violin a little bit growing up. I played piano, messed around with singing, just vocal stuff, and so I took a music improv workshop from an individual named Kat Bond, who was living in Chicago at the time, but came out to Colorado to do a workshop. And I just loved it so much. It combined all my passions of now I get to do music and I get to do comedy. So we get to laugh and we get to sing and we get to create and harmonize, and all of that joy came together. And again, once I fell into that, there was no looking back.
Right. Yeah. I love that you said joy too, because I feel like improv, I get a lot of joy, and then musical improv, I get so much more joy. It's like this just instant love connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. And then you also did American Ninja Warrior.
I did. Sadly did not make it on the show itself.
Yeah.
Or they didn't play me,
Right.
But yeah, I put together my really goofy audition tape,
Yeah?
which is floating around on the interwebs if you ever get bored.
Do on your goofy audition tape. I gotta look at this.
I think I talked about doing different, like, because I did parkour stuff, so it was a lot of like parkour shots and
Yeah.
me doing random backflips in the gym somewhere and all, the typical little steps and stuff you got to show, and then just talking about myself. This was, boy, probably 10 years ago plus, more than that. It's definitely a little bit cringy when you watch it, but I think it is.
Oh, come on. I can't wait to see it. I'm gonna.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. How do you feel like ninja and improv correlate with one another? Like, do you see a correlation?
Absolutely. I think it's a good question, and I might expand it. So for me, I started doing parkour, and I did that before improv. I had a friend at work who was like, "I want to try parkour. Do you want to come with me?" And
Yeah.
as per my earlier comment, yeah, I want to meet people and try different things. So I went and I did it. And I'm going to tell you what I loved about doing parkour and ninja and all of that is it's, in my mind, there's a couple key aspects. One is the overcoming fear, right? There's your things that you don't think you can do physically, either because you're scary or you just don't think you're capable of doing them.
Right.
And then what do? You drill them. You do small steps, right? As you know, because you've kind of done this.
Yes.
Right, you ease into like basic rail jumps. So, jumping from a handrail, we start with the little bars on the floor that are maybe 2 feet apart, just a little hop. And it's scary, but then you do it a few times. You're like, okay, I can do this. And you do this over a long period of time. Then you move up to like kind of hip height handrails. Now you're jumping those. That's a lot scarier, but it's doable. And then next thing you know, now you're doing it 10 feet off the ground, right? Walking across rails. And if you would ask myself, kind of, I don't know how long it took, but we'll say like a year when I first started parkour, if I'd ever be able to do that, I would have told you no. I'd say, nope, this beyond my capabilities is way too scary. But you just little time, a little bit of practice gets you there. And I would say that is the same as true of improv. I think so many people are scared of improv because you're performing in front of other people. You're looking goofy. You're doing things you don't normally do. You're thinking on your feet. And people say, because people say this to me all the time, what you do improv, I could never do that.
Yes.
Strongly disagree. I think absolutely anyone can do improv.
See, did you hear that, guys? Anyone can do improv. I agree. I totally agree. And I've heard that from people too, being like, I could never do that. I could never get on stage. That is way too scary. And what I love you said, like with the parkour thing, is you took it instrumentally, like just baby steps. Like, okay, here we start on the floor, we're just like 2 feet apart, and then we go up to our hips, and then, we're starting to level up. And then you're doing like 10 feet, like 10 foot tall rail jumps, and, like running across the top of, I don't know, like rails.
Yeah.
It's wild. But you wouldn't have thought you would have ever done that. But your buddy was like, hey, you want to try parkour? And I always think of The Office. They're like,
Parkour.
So they're all running around. Yeah, so I can see you and your buddy going and doing that. It's cool.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think there's that aspect. And then I'll also throw out the other thing that I found that I love about both of these. And even though they're very different activities, the communities in both of them are really good.
Yes.
And
yes.
There's always outliers. You always have some oddballs in everything you do.
Yeah.
But on the whole, you're talking about, these are communities that are very supportive of one another.
Yes.
They're not super competitive. It's not that they can't be,
Right.
but in general, they're more of somewhat a like personal thing. And so I think because of that, it's less of me versus you and more of like, I want to succeed for myself. I want to see you succeed for yourself.
Totally.
And they have that mentality, right? It's such a saying in improv of, I've got your back.
Yes.
Right? And I think what's cool about that is people who are doing that on stage, turns out they do that in real life too. Yeah. And these are people that I like hanging out with. I like becoming friends with and then doing more activities with. And so both of those have worked out really well in that way for me. And it's just another common line that you wouldn't expect, but it exists.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Like the community with ninja, parkour, like amazing people, improv, amazing people, this community of Flipside, other communities I'm sure that you've been with, of Bovine and different places awesome community. Like people have each other's backs and they're supporting one another. And I think, with Ninja, I felt like that was more of competition with myself. And everybody, even though we were competing, you still had each other's back and you were rooting each other on. You genuinely wanted to see people make it and succeed, So yeah, there's definitely that correlation there. And overcoming fear too. You talked about that too.
Yep.
So being able to really, did you have any stage fright or did you have any kind
yes.
of, yeah, okay.
Talk to us about that. I love that. That's a great question. And I think I heard you interviewed Chuck a couple weeks back and I listened to that episode and he talked about fear as well. And it touched me in a way because it's very relatable, right? I was petrified of public speaking. I hated that. And to me, the scariest thing in the world I could do would be singing in front of other people. Right. And you get up there and you get shaky and you're nervous and things like that. And it was actually before improv. I started in and I was like, oh, wait, this feels like something that's stupid to be afraid of. And I get a huge percentage of the population is, but it's not going to hurt you. Right. So I forced myself to do it. So I took a public speaking class. Oh, nice. And it, it's a struggle at first, but over time it gets better. Yeah. And then, by the time I got to improv, I was certainly more confident, but I was still scared about performing in front of others, especially in what I would call a much more open way, right? Speaking is one thing because it gets much more professional and serious, whereas improv, I'm being a goof. I'm making weird faces. Yeah. I really kind of enjoyed the freedom that came from that. And I think something that I tell everyone I interact with now who's scared of it and scared of speaking is you just do it. And you do it enough where I'm not saying it's all going to be good. You're going to get up there. You're going to have times that go really bad. You're going to be in front of an audience and you're going to crash. It will happen at some point. Even if you're really good, it will happen. It happens to the best. But then what you get out of that. So once you're done with it and you're like, oh, that was awful. I don't want to do it again. And you get up there and you do it again. And you're like, well, at least it won't be as bad as that one time. Yeah. And so every time it's like a little better until eventually you don't even think about it. And I won't say that I don't get excited before shows now because I do, but I don't get nervous at all. Wow.
When did the nerves start to kind of dwindle down?
That's a good question. It was a long time. Probably 5 or 6 years before I really felt like, okay, this is chill, easy.
Right. I'm just going to go play with my friends and have fun.
Right. Yeah. We're just going to get up. We're going to laugh.
Yeah. That's cool. And I love that you said too, that you just did it, because I think that's where we could get paralyzed by our fear and just be like, no way, man, I can't do that. There's no way. But you just registered for a public speaking class. You were like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to put myself out there and I'm going to do it just like you did with Ninja, which is so cool.
Yeah. Well, and same thing. I had a pretty bad fear of heights.
That's right.
And tall buildings, you go up and I get close to the window and you're like, ooh, I feel uncomfortable and I don't want to be here. And, maybe that one is a little more rooted in reason, right? And speaking. Right. But there's still, especially in these days, like we're smart enough, we're developed enough as humans that we can process and be like, okay, this is a legitimate reason to be concerned because I will fall, or this is in my head. And I think that's what I loved about Ninja parkour stuff is, again, you're practicing getting higher and you're getting more comfortable and you repeat it and you repeat it and you kind of, your body comes to terms with the fact that I can handle this, and just because I'm near an edge doesn't mean I'm going to just fall off of it or jump off of it. Right. Yeah. And if I do, I can control it.
Yes. Yeah, and you and your body become more in alignment over time. You guys are just like, okay, we got this, and then you have your own back.
Yeah.
Doing it. So.
Well, and I think it's what's interesting, and you asked me about the parkour stuff, so I'll bring it up. Is a big part of that when I first started was I practiced or learned from an individual who taught something called ukemi, which is the art of falling. In essence. And so it's a lot of drilling about when you trip, how do you rolling over your shoulder to not injure yourself. If you fall to the side or fall back, not landing on your wrists, which is where you can break your wrists. Right. And again, it's these base skills that make you feel more comfortable doing bigger, harder things. And I super equate that to improv is you can start with these basic skills that are a lot easier to learn, and they will make you more comfortable, so then you can go bigger with how you play, or now you can play in front of an audience. And again, it's building up that confidence within yourself. And it shows because, as you get more comfortable, I guarantee you'll be a funnier player. You're a better player. Audiences are going to like you more.
Right. And you take more risks.
Absolutely. You take more risks.
Right. And you connect with the audience more too. I agree with that. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the more you just continually do the reps and just keep pushing yourself forward. So very cool. Okay. As a teacher and a performer of improv and musical improv, what is your most favorite thing to teach and play on stage?
That's a hard question.
Stacked question too.
Yeah. So I'm going to avoid answering your question, then I'll come back. I think my favorite thing is playing with people that I really enjoy and who push me, right? And this is true of classes too, right? Because a lot of times I'll know more, have more experience in classes, but you still have people come in who have a certain skill that they just do better than I do. And I love that because that's the type of thing that it can help push me to be better because I can learn from what they're doing and I can be like, oh, what do I enjoy so much about it? But it also makes me look better, right? So if you're playing with someone, what's so great about playing with someone better than you is they're going to elevate you. So even if you're kind of so-so and you're playing with someone who's a superstar, everyone else is going to watch and be like, wow, Erik, you're really good. And I'm like, thanks, it was mostly that. So it's that the people so much for me that really drive my favorite aspects of it. I think when it comes to like specifics, I like musical improv. I love creating songs on the fly. And probably one of my favorite things, and you get this both teaching and playing, is when you create a song that feels like a real song. Like it sounds good, it's got a strong hook in the chorus, and you're singing it for days after you played it, right? Or days after, you taught it or your class played it. Yeah. So I think it's those little things, the things that stick with you, that are more my joy than like a specific form or structure, or even like technique. Yeah,
that makes sense. So a strong hook or something that you're like driving in your car and you're like, ah, da, da, you're still singing it, you're still thinking about it. And then the people that like kind of help you level up, like they're, if they're better or more skilled or they just have more experience and you play with them, you're like, wow, that was really cool. And it helps you too, like just to become a better player.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love that. How did you guys come up with Improv Cabaret, or how did you guys form that team?
Yeah, so that is a good question. It's a rather long story. I'll give you the abridged version. So again, the individual, Kat Bond, who I took the workshop from, she moved back to Colorado from Chicago. Okay. She's has a fair bit of musical experience, wanted to start a team out in the Denver area. And so founded a team. I auditioned for it. At the time, it was called The City. Okay. And kind of her intent was to try something that was a little different than like your standard golden era musical improv. Because most music improv, if you watch it, is what I would classify as your golden era, like Oklahoma style, oh, happy day. Yeah. And not that there isn't conflict, right? But it's more of that thematic. And she wanted to do something that was a little more Fosse-esque, had more dance in it. Okay. Incorporated other skills besides just like two people singing. It's like, how do we do rap? How do we incorporate more kind of short form game stuff in there? So really, it was her idea, her baby. I joined that team, and just over time we evolved. So what happened? Like everything else, started rough. We tried different things. At one point, we didn't have an accompanist, so we were doing a cappella with like drums and hand beats.
Using your own body.
Right, like using your chest to like get a beat. So it was very much trial and error of this worked and this didn't. And I think, she, to her credit, and I think people who are really good, is really good at identifying others who have good skill sets. And I think she was able to see something within me where she's like, you can help in this area. And so I was able to step in and a big part of what I did was a lot of our short form structure. So you think of like, whose line is it anyway, right? And Wayne Brady and the stuff, like he would do things like that. So how can we gamify songs and work that in? So I really dove into that. And then there were a couple of other people that were really skilled in other areas. Mm-hmm. So they came on board as well. And between, 3 to 4 of us, we shifted, evolved the team, changed how we did it, and came up with what is now Improv Cabaret. So both the new name and then the form that we perform now. And we've been around for a long time. Like any team, right? There's a lot of turnover. You know, unfortunately, you're not really getting paid for this, or if you are, it's minimal.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
My biggest sadness with improv is not enough money in it.
I know, right? Yeah. We got to figure out how to make it a little more lucrative.
Yeah, I've tried.
You've
No
tried.
luck so far, but let me know.
I will. Well, you guys always look so sharp on stage. Like you come out dressed to the nines. I mean, you have like, the women often are wearing dresses or skirts, and you guys are, you have like nice suspenders that you wear and tight like shirts and pants and just, I didn't mean to say tight. I meant nice.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But you wear these like really great outfits, and that makes it so fun because you also hand out menus. And so you have this audience participation. So this element of audience participation that really draws me as an audience member in to each show because I can yell out a drink and you guys will perform it. And like you said, it's like you'll do raps. You guys incorporate dance. You do so many cool things. And I just love every show that you guys do.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, it's always been a blast. And you guys have been performing at Flipside. And I think you're going to be performing every month.
Yeah, we've at least for the next 3 months, we're scheduled to play at Flipside first Saturdays.
Saturday of every month. And is that at 8 o'clock or?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. So you guys have the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, which is awesome. And then I have a couple more questions for you before we talk more about that. But how do you use improv in your daily life? Or do you use it?
Of course I use it. It's a good question. I think improv in daily life is interesting to me because it is such an applicable skill set to anything you do, no matter where you're working, etc. There's a combination of skills, and one of those is that when I teach improv, I think there's kind of a few factors that I look for in people who are really good or who it comes naturally to, and it's one of those is active listening, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a good improviser, you're paying attention to what you're seeing partners doing, what other players on your team are doing, how the audience is responding, right? You're actively engaged with the world around you, and that is also tied in being present, right? You're not thinking about, oh, what am I going to have for dinner tomorrow? Because if you do that, you're not going to be able to respond. You're not going to be able to build. You're not going to yes and. Right. And so that's a skill you want in everyday life, whether it's relationships, right, with a partner you're interacting with, family, friends, or work colleagues. I think it's very easy in work to get distracted by all the noise and not be present and not be listening to what your coworker's saying, right? So that's one big aspect to me. I think the other is the yes and that you hear a lot about in improv, and I just feel like life can use more yes and. I think it's important to differentiate. I'm not saying that you should say yes to everything in life. I think that can be unhealthy and dangerous.
People listening to the max, yes.
But I think it is really useful, especially when you're looking at negotiations or dealing with someone who you're disagreeing with, right? Rather than just going in and saying, no, you're wrong, or I disagree, you say, okay, I see what you're saying. What if we take that and then we do this small change, or we add on top of it, right? And now suddenly it's a collaborative idea that they're excited with instead of you arguing with.
Yes.
And it's such a core improv tenet, which, again, anywhere in life it's going to make better.
Totally. There's a technique that we teach. It's called an innovation technique, where even though somebody says something that's really off the wall and you may not agree with it, there's still like 10% of it that's right, or that you could pick out and say, yes, what I like about that is. And what I love what you just said was like, what if we take that and build on this? And that's what we do in improv, when you're yes-anding things. And so I think it really does help in our work life, in our personal lives, with relationships with partners, peers, being able to, instead of saying, no, you're wrong, I'm right, what if there is something that we can work within that and keep building, right? So I think that's such a cool technique. And active listening is so important. Like you said, if you're thinking about, what am I going to make for dinner tomorrow? You're not present, and you're going to lose the essence of connection with your stage partners and the audience. So
yeah,
Yeah.
So
So true.
yet another reason why I highly recommend improv to anyone out there
Yeah.
is even if you don't want to perform, just practicing these skills is almost, in my mind, a sense of or type of meditation, right? Where you're just practicing, you're getting your body in these habits because it is easy these days in particular to be so distracted and just to constantly be like bouncing around mentally, this, that, this. Whereas if you even take like an hour of your week in a class or with a team or a group of people, that's just going to help you. It's going to help you get that brain wiring a little closer to a more like, hey, here I am, I'm having fun.
I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we're going to do here in just like 10 minutes. We're going to go and play in class for 2 hours. And so it's super fun. One last question I want to ask you before we talk about when you're teaching. What life lessons has improv given you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was the sole determinant of this, but I think improv, one of the best lessons I've learned from improv is it is okay to look stupid in front of strangers. You can be dumb, and I'm not just saying intentionally dumb, but you can make mistakes in front of people, right? You can do things that you didn't want to do or didn't plan to do, and you walk away with it and you're fine. And because it is very easy to be so concerned about what other people think. And again, like everything in life, there is some validity. You don't want to just be a total slob and I'm showing up without pants on and things like that.
Gotta wear your pants.
Gotta wear your pants,
Yeah,
those
things.
But realistically, it's that, again, it kind of ties back to that fear, right? But coming to terms with the fact that, hey, all this stuff that's in your head, guess what? It doesn't matter as much as you think.
Yeah. That's so true. Stephen Colbert said, somebody said, what was the biggest mistake you ever made on stage? And he's like, mistakes, I just see them as discoveries. And I was like, I like that reframe because I think too, as somebody who is a recovering perfectionist too, it's like looking at mistakes. I'm like, oh, I can't make any mistakes, but I can make discoveries. Like that sits better with me, in terms of thinking about like, yes, it's okay to fail. It's okay to have a mistake. It's okay to have these things. And what can I discover from this, the situation? And so I think it's really cool to keep learning. I think as long as we're in Earth School, we're just going to keep learning. That's what we're here for.
Well, and I am such a big believer in that. Like, you got to keep pushing your brain. And I say that not just as a opinion. There's so many studies out there, right, about the importance of continuing to exercise your brain as well as your body, and thinking in ways you don't normally think, pushing yourself to do things that you're not, used to, or is not just the habit, and how that can push away a lot of cognitive disabilities, So I think improv is a great way to do that because every time you do it, it's a little bit different. You have to adjust to who you're playing with and what they're doing and who you're in front of and the topic, and all of that just keeps you on your toes.
Totally does. Yeah, and it's okay to be silly and have these discoveries, these mistakes in front of other people, and just keep growing your brain, like neuroplasticity, like you're able to really stretch your brain each time you do improv. And the more that you practice, the more I think you continue to expand it. So
Exactly.
yeah, so cool. Well, when are you performing next? When's your...
Excellent question. So Improv Cabaret, we perform quite a bit all around the kind of Denver metro area.
Nice.
We have our big 10-year anniversary show coming up very soon, April 9th at 7 p.m. at Clock Tower Cabaret.
Ooh, yes.
Highly recommend that. We've got a couple other great teams playing with us that night.
Okay.
Other than that, we play Saturdays. Like you mentioned, we play first Saturday of the month at Flipside at 8 p.m. We also play at What If Theater. It's somewhat rotating, but usually third Saturdays every other month, also at 8 p.m. And we play at Rise Theater as well, on and off. So you can really look for us at any of your local theaters, hopefully, and hopefully we'll squeeze in.
Yeah, that's so cool. And that was the first time I saw you guys. It was at What If Theater. Yeah, that's a great little theater. I love that. Okay, and then when are you teaching again? When's your next classes starting?
That is a good question. So I don't have a set date right now. I think there should be hopefully a new level 5 coming up in about 5 weeks from today. I'm also working to set up a music improv, like 4-set workshop here. So I've been kind of talking with some different folks at the theater, but hoping that we'll start that maybe in the next 2 months. I just think, again, I love it so much, and it's a fun skill, and it's really hard to do by yourself because it's helpful to have an accompanist and other people you can play with.
Yes, and Maynard is awesome. He's the accompanist that comes often when you do musical improv workshops. You have those here too at Flipside. The next one will be, I think, in May.
That's an excellent point. So the second Thursday of the month, we do musical improv workshops, drop-ins. Really, anyone can swing by those.
7 to 9.
7 to 9. Highly recommend if you just want to feel it out.
Yes, and that's at Flipside, and we'd love to see you. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? What do you think?
Best way to get a hold of me is probably I'm not on social media much.
Okay.
But you can contact me there, and I will respond.
Okay. Is it just under your name, like?
Yeah,
okay.
Erik Mulder, or of course, Improv Cabaret Musical is our Instagram handle,
Cool.
Or Improv Cabaret on Facebook, and you can reach out there, and one of us from the team will reach out, or you can get a hold of me.
Okay. Erik, it's been a blast having you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll put all of that in the podcast description so people can get a hold of you, and a link to your show coming up, your 10-year anniversary. That's super exciting. And something we say is we'll see you
on the flip side.
Thanks, everyone. Good job, buddy.